It all started from 1600 when the traders from the east came to India as a trading company and later established itself as a political power in the year 1772 as East India Company. They expanded their rule and became more powerful in India. They treated Indians like their slaves and exploited them. The life of Indians became miserable. The introduction of Western education in India created awareness among the Indians and value of equality, fraternity and liberty. The soldiers were forced to bite off the cartridge which were greased with beef and pig fat. This made them offensive to both Muslims and Hindus, and this created a conflict in 1857 and Indians revolted against the British. As this brought an end on the rule of East India Company in India. Soon after, the country became under the direct rule of British government. The British took over the administration of India. In 1885, Indian National Congress was formed under the leadership of A.O. Hume, Badruddin Tyabji, W.C. Banerjee, Surendranath Banerjee and Firoz Shah Mehta. In 1905, Lord Curzon announced the partition of Bengal, which led to a massive protest among the people. They boycotted the British goods and opted Swadeshi goods. Congress splits at Surat into moderates and extremists. Dadabhai Nauroji and Gopal Krishna Gokhale were the leaders of moderates. They expressed their demands peacefully. Lala Lajpat Rai, Bal Gangadhar Tilak and Bipin Chandra Pal were the leaders of extremists. The Lal Bal Pal trio believed that India must achieve Swaraj or self-rule and not to be ruled by anyone. In 1911, Bengal was reunited and the capital was shifted from Calcutta to Delhi. In 1914, when the First World War started, Indians were dragged into the war and they fought for the British. But they were not rewarded and imposed more tax on them. In 1915, Mahatma Gandhi returned from South Africa and set up Sabarmati Ashram in Ahmedabad. He joined Indian National Congress. The farmers of Champaran in Bihar were forced to grow indigo and they were not paid. The farmers became discontented and Mahatma Gandhi inspired them for Satyagraha. In 1919, Rowlatt Act was passed to curtail the political activities in the country. The political prisoners can be detained to jail without trial for 2 years. Mahatma Gandhi opposed the Rowlatt Act by starting a peaceful satyagraha. He suggested a civil disobedience beginning with a hartal. This was followed by rallies, strikes by railway workers and closing down of shops. All the day-to-day work of the country came to a halt. British decided to suppress the movement. Nationalists were arrested and Mahatma Gandhi was restricted from entering Delhi. In Amritsar, police opened fire on a peaceful procession. Angered by this brutal action, people attacked banks, post offices and railway stations. Martial law was imposed in Amritsar under the command of General Dyer. In 13th April 1919, on the day of Baisakhi, more than thousands of people were assembled in Jallianwala Bagh, unaware of martial law. General Dyer with his soldiers fired at the crowd. More than 320 people were killed and 1,200 were injured. In response to Jallianwala Bagh massacre, Mahatma Gandhi started the non-cooperation movement, which lasted for 2 years. It embodied the idea of non-violence or ahimsa. In 1921, poet Maulana Hazrat Mohani was the first to demand complete independence, Purna Swaraj. He coined the slogan Ingulab Zindabad. Chauri Chaura incident took place in Gorakhpur. Protesters participating in non-cooperation movement clashed with police who opened fire and killed several demonstrators. And a police station was set on fire by the protesters, resulting in the death of at least 22 policemen. This incident led to the suspension of non-cooperation movement. The British government appointed Simon Commission to recommend political reforms in India, but it did not have any Indian, which led to both the Congress and Muslim League to protest and boycott Commission when it visited India in 1927. Lala Lajpat Rai was brutally beaten and later in 1928 he passed away. Gandhiji led a mass civil disobedience movement. One of the main reasons was to cancel the tax on salt. The salt law made illegal for Indians to produce, sell or collect salt. Anyone who produced or sold salt would be imprisoned. The flag of India was hoisted by Jawaharlal Nehru on 31st December 1929 on the banks of Ravi River in Lahore. The flag of India was hoisted publicly across India by Congress, volunteers, nationalists and the public. Gandhiji with his 78 followers marched to Dandi, which was 385 km from Sabarmati Ashram. It took 25 days to reach Dandi by walking. Thousands of people joined the march. Gandhiji violated the salt law by producing salt. Sarojini Naidu led the movement from Dadasana. More than 80,000 people were jailed along with Gandhiji before he could make salt at the government depot at Dadasana. Violence arose at different parts of India. The Congress did not attend the first roundtable conference since most of the prominent leaders were under arrest. British government wanted Congress to attend the second roundtable at any cost. Gandhiji and Lord Irwin had 8 meetings in a fortnight and the outcome is called Gandhi-Irwin Pact. Gandhiji agreed to participate in the second roundtable conference and to stop the civil disobedience movement. In return, British government agreed to release all the political prisoners who did not have any violence cases against them. They also allowed people living in coastal areas to make salt. Dr. B.R. Ambedkar demanded a separate electorate for untouchables in the provincial legislature. British government announced communal awards which resulted in the separate electorates for Sikhs, Muslims, Christians and other depressed classes. Gandhiji opposed the proposal saying that it would divide Hindus. He sat to fast unto death in Yerwada jail. To break Gandhi's fast, Pune Pact was signed. Pune Pact abandoned separate electorates for depressed classes. Provincial elections were held in India under the Act of 1935. Most provinces elect Congress, some elected Muslim League. The Indian National Congress forms ministers in 7 provinces. Subhash Chandra Bose was elected as the Congress president. He stood for self-governance, a fully independent India, including using force against the British if needed. His aggressive strategy made Mahatma Gandhi uncomfortable, and this led to a conflict between Subhash Chandra Bose and Mahatma Gandhi. Subhash Chandra Bose wanted one central tough leadership to rule India. He wanted India to have an army of its own. Subhash Chandra Bose resigned from Congress. During the outbreak of Second World War, British wanted Indians to participate in the war, but Mahatma Gandhi opposed it since after the First World War, British betrayed Indians. Even then, 2.5 million Indians joined the army of of it joined the army to fight for British. Subhash Chandra Bose did not like the idea of Indian soldiers fighting for British. In 1941, while Subhash Chandra Bose was under house arrest, he somehow escaped and went to Germany and met Hitler. He joined hands with Hitler and organized the Indian National Army against British, saying that enemy of your enemy is your friend. He addressed Indian soldiers who were fighting for British from the radio station Germany not to fight for British. Fight instead against British to attain freedom. This brought a confusion in some Indian troops. British were also frightened because of the possibility of Indian soldiers deceiving British. While Subhash Chandra Bose threatened British from Germany, Mahatma Gandhi started Quit India movement. Meanwhile, in 1914, the resolution for the establishment of a separate homeland for the Muslims of British India passed in the annual section of All India Muslim League held in Lahore on 22 to 24 March 1940. In the Bombay section of All India Congress Committee, Gandhiji called for a movement of do or die. Gandhiji passed a resolution of Quit India movement and demanded immediate independence of India. The very next day, Gandhiji and other leaders were imprisoned. Mass protests broke out all over the country. Ram Manohar Lohia, Jayaprakash Narayan, Aruna Asif Ali, Usha Mehta and many more leaders took the leadership from underground. In 1943, 2.5 million people died due to the starvation in Bengal. In 1944, Gandhiji was released from the jail after his wife's death. Moreover, his health was also becoming more terrible. British did not want him to die in the prison and make the people more agitated and aggressive. After his release, Gandhiji proposed talks with Muhammad Ali Jinnah on his two-nation theory and negotiation on the issue of the partition. Second World War ended in 1945. Wavell was the Viceroy of India. He had so many challenges to face like Quit India movement, International Congress and Muslim League deadlock over separate states, Bengal famine, Indian National Army, etc. He went to London in May 1945 with some suggestions to discuss with L.S. Ameri, the Secretary of State. He chalked out a plan and called a conference in Shimla on 25th June 1945 to discuss the plan with the leaders like Muhammad Ali Jinnah and Mahatma Gandhi. But due to different opinions, Shimla plan was failed. British Prime Minister Attlee announces the cabinet mission. A three-member cabinet mission visited India in March 1946. Its purpose was to examine the demand of the Muslim League for the creation of Pakistan. It also wanted to suggest a suitable political framework for independent modern India. On 16 August 1946, the All India Muslim League proclaimed Direct Action Day in Calcutta as part of their demand for a separate state for Muslims. Wavell invited Nehru to form an interim government. On 2nd September 1946, an interim government was formed to assist the transition of British India to independence. On 9th September, Gandhi and Jinnah had talks on partition. On 9th September 1946, Gandhiji and Jinnah had talks on partition. On 6th December 1946, Constituent Assembly for India meets for the first time. Gandhi-Jinnah talks break down. Communal riots broke out. Gandhiji was upset. Lord Mountbatten became the Viceroy of India on February 21, 1945. He proposed a plan in which British government accepted India's partition. 563 princely states were made to decide whether to join Indian Union or not. And on 18 July 1947, the British Parliament passed the Indian Independence Act which partitioned India into two independent states. namely India and Pakistan. At midnight of 14th August 1947, the British lowered the Union Jack and the Indian tricolor was unfurled. Dr. Rajendra Prasad became the first President of India and Jawaharlal Nehru became the first Prime Minister of India. Finally, the struggles and sacrifices were worth it. Thank you.